From an addict who adopted the lifestyle and wore it like a badge of honor, to a family left with scars and open wounds and extremely complicated feelings, we navigate the death of an addict. Hello, friends, and welcome back to The Free Advantage, brought to you by The Risky Path. I'm Heather Davis, and I want to invite you to join me each week as we explore self-discovery, authenticity, and the journey to recovering a life of freedom. This podcast is about sharing and exploring impactful experiences that we all share in a relatable and digestible way. And with so much information out there, it can be overwhelming to take it all in. But here, I want to give you small bites that you take back into your week and integrate into your daily life. Hello, everyone. If you are joining me today, I want to preface this episode with a mild disclaimer that though this is short, it is about the life and loss of my uncle who suffered from mental illness and severe substance addiction. This may be triggering for some, and I want to warn you now before we move forward. Death is a complicated thing. For those left behind, it brings despair. And for those leaving, perhaps freedom. From an addict who adopted the lifestyle and wore it like a badge of honor, to a family left with scars and open wounds and extremely complicated feelings, this episode is the insight of an experience and emotions wrapped around what dealing with an addict looks and feels like to those around them. I woke up this morning after yet another late night, tired yet wide awake, feeling an anxiety of another sort rush through my body like I have had way too many cups of coffee when I haven't had any. Shock, grief, stress, lack of sleep, feelings I know all too well. The anticipation of what is to come in the days ahead courses through me, and it is not welcome. But like I said, death is a complicated thing. I lost my eldest uncle this past weekend, September 27th, 2025. His relationship within our family left us all in the wake of very complicated feelings. His existence was loud, assaulting, and heavy. While he was driven and motivated, he was also tormented, abusive, and ill. It has been hard for me to sit here and feel both loss and relief at the same time from his passing, not knowing exactly sometimes how to feel at all, and even being bothered by the inconvenience of it all. It takes a lot of courage for me to come and sit here and admit the truth of the situation and be honest about the complexity in my grief, especially when someone's life carried so much harm alongside their humanity. Yet, that's the complicated truth of grief when addiction is involved. Alongside sadness, there is relief and anger. But relief and anger are still grief. It's just a different shape. It doesn't mean that we don't care. It just means that we've lived through the damage. My uncle lived a life of depravity, sex, drugs, and alcohol, and everything that came with it. And though he was living his own personal hell, he enjoyed every second of it. He did not care for those who mattered the most, the ones who loved him in spite of himself, those who nurtured him, gave to him, those that cared for him and took care of him when he no longer could care for himself, or those that sacrificed for him. He cared and loved only himself. He threw people away like they were yesterday's trash, and he kept those whom he thought he could use close. His life caused discord, grief, and hate, while his death has brought indifference, relief, and freedom. And yet, for all that he was in his illness and his addiction, he carried something that most of us don't, an unshakable drive to grab what he wanted out of life. Even when he couldn't stand on his own 2 feet, he found a way to keep going. Maybe that's why his death was so shocking. We had truly come to believe that he would never die. If a cat had 9 lives, he had 20. Just days before his passing, he had managed to leave a nursing home, buy a house, and move himself in. Life for him looked good. He was hopeful, excited. But the rest of us knew the truth. His illness was in full force, and this hope was just another high. And yet, grace. My uncle lived in that hope for less than 24 hours before God called him home. And I find myself wondering, in this moment, why now? Maybe in his mercy, God spared him and us from what was to come. Perhaps grace was letting him go in a moment of hope instead of in the depths of his hell. I talk every day about recovery, about recovering a life of freedom from whatever it is that keeps us bound. I hoped with all that I was that he would find that freedom on earth, that he would recognize the hurt that he caused, that we and his family might be reconciled, and that his children might know who their father is. But I know that it doesn't always happen the way we want it to. Not everyone chooses recovery. Not everyone experiences the joy and the hope of walking free. And death is complicated. For those left behind, sometimes we are left with despair for what we have lost. And sometimes we are left in despair for what they have lost. And we grieve what we never had. We grieve the potential loss of what could have been, should have been, and all the things that should never have been. The brother, the son, the uncle, the father, all lost to a disease embraced instead of rejected. Recovery might not have been meant for my uncle, but what I've learned is that recovery is meant for us, for the ones left behind, for the individuals carrying trauma wrapped around him, and for the family learning to live in the wake of his life. Death is complicated, but recovery doesn't have to be. Maybe it's not mental illness. Maybe it's not addiction. Maybe it's trauma from being the support, the advocate, the wisher-weller, the intercessor, or the hopeful one. Maybe it's trauma from having to be the one who walks away, keeps it all at arm's length, the one who protects themselves. But no matter which position you find yourself in, no matter where you stand, freedom can still be yours. My uncle didn't choose recovery. He didn't choose freedom, but I can. My family can. And so can you. Their story does not have to be the end of ours. That's the gift of recovery. It offers us the chance to live free even when those that we love could not. Freedom can be yours today, right now, in this very moment, if you'll reach out and grab it. And as for all of us, as individuals with our own trauma wrapped around my uncle, and as a family holding fast in the wake of his life, we are not just mourning this loss, but also processing years of pain, disappointment, and the weight of all that was left unresolved. And as for my uncle, he is finally free. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today on The Free Advantage. For tools and support and more inspiration, please visit my website, theriskypath.com. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your voice matters, and it helps us to grow and get our message out to more people like you. And please, if you or someone you know is suffering and needs help, please reach out to your local recovery center, or you can dial 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Hotline for substance use support. Let's continue our journey to freedom together. And remember, freedom is the advantage you already own. Until next time.